So in the Navy, there's this program called Preventive Maintenance System, or PMS. PMS, it's the act of performing regularly scheduled maintenance to help prevent equipment from going down, failures in the future. To put it simply, PMS is about fixing something before it breaks down. We see doctors regularly to ensure we have good health and to closely monitor medical conditions and regulate meds. We check the fluids in our car. We change the oil and we rotate the tires on our vehicles to keep it in good running condition. We purchase home security systems, pest control systems. We take in home warranty things, to protect our washers and dryers and hot water heaters and stuff. We do all this maintenance. We have all these maintenance plans for our bodies and our possessions, because we know that if we don't maintain it, these things today, if we don't maintain them today, tomorrow they're going to go to, kaput. And our very life could be in jeopardy, and the cost of repairs could destroy our savings. When something unexpected happens in our life, our response to a situation is always reactive. We act in response to a situation rather than creating, controlling, or influencing a situation. I bring this up because I'm just, the church, the body of Christ, in many ways has grown to come to understand it's necessary to walk alongside those who are grieving, that are struggling in their marriages, that are struggling with broken relationships, who have mental health issues, childhood trauma, drug and alcohol, pornography addictions, sexual dysfunctions, all sorts of things. But what hit me earlier today was that all of these support groups and these programs, they're all reactive. When I was a child, my father had absolutely no idea how to parent a child who'd been emotionally, mentally, physically, and sexually abused. His only response was to take it to God and let God handle it. Yeah, God's the answer. But I needed so much more. My father's a Christian, and when I lived with him, he made sure I was in church. But even within the church, he was unable to help me. What I experienced as a child was never discussed again. Instead, it was left to fester inside me. Yes, God is the answer. But I was a child who needed so much more. I needed to be surrounded by warriors of God who protected me from the world, provided a safe place for me to heal, and to help me see and experience God's love. I was 14 years old then, and in my opinion, not a lot's changed since that conversation took place between me and my dad. This past week, I had a conversation with a lady who goes to my church, and she's got 2 teenage boys. She was sharing with me some of the difficulties she was having with not only parenting her sons through the normal things of adolescence, but also amidst the challenges presented by a culture that strives to undermine parents' authority and where truth is subjective. At one point, I asked if she felt today's church adequately equipped her as a parent to address the things that affect her children today. I wasn't at all surprised when she said no. There's a lot of programs out here that are available to parents across the country, all of which, however, unfortunately, are outside the church. It saddens my heart, but where's the support within the church? How is the church providing preventive maintenance and equipping parents to address our culture? It's not enough to provide biblical training if practical application's not applied. What does it look like to love your neighbor in a world that proclaims love is love? Do our children, teens, and young adults understand the difference between God's love and mankind's understanding of love? How do you respond to your children or a loved one that has informed you they are attracted to someone of the same sex or they are in same-sex relationship? What do you tell your child when he or she asks, why would God allow them to have same-sex attraction if it's wrong? What do you say to your child that demands you accept an identity contrary to God's design? How do parents navigate the emotional minefields? Wanting relationship with their child, not wanting to create a chasm, but yet wanting to stand firm in truth. These are conversations that should be taking place in our churches before we as the body of Christ or as parents are required to react. You know, we need to be able to answer these questions. We need to be proactive instead of reactive. And if we have to react, we ought to have a plan in place in how we should react, how we should respond. If we're not showing God's love from the very beginning, how can we ever expect to backtrack and show it then after it's too late? After the damage is done. God bless.